What's up, Slingshot Audio Garage? My name is Johnathan Taylor, and we are back with another episode of our In the Lab podcast. And this is episode number 17. And I've got Ted Hernandez, my technical guru, which he says he's not, but man, so far he's proven himself to be pretty worthy behind the keyboard. So I can talk all day about nothing, and he can not talk and do the keyboard stuff. So it's perfect. It's like a match made in heaven. So today's guest, we've got Jeff Smith with Droppin Hurts, man. Man, appreciate you coming on with us, Jeff. How you been?
Hey, pretty good. How you guys been?
Man, good. So yeah, I guess we'll just jump right into it, man. And I guess we'll start with so what, we know you got a business and you've been a longtime supporter of Slingshot Audio Garage, and man, we really appreciate that. I guess we'll start with that. That way people can understand like who is this guy and why would we bring him on? And I remember. Back in 2020, when we had one of our first giveaways, that was our whole idea with me and Ted with the whole Slingshot Audio Garage was to be about the community. And, I ask questions all the time on the page just to get, answers from people that are, they're trying to sell people product. But I wanted to make sure that they're trying to be helpful too, and not just, get $1 from them and, or just not just get $1 from the community. And so then we started the whole giveaway, and you were one of our first guys to say, man, I want to give away a battery. And, I think you did it a couple of times actually.
Yeah,
so
I think so.
Yeah, man. And we really appreciate that. That's what it's about, is community stuff. And, we tell everybody, we don't get paid for this. We just try to promote it. And so people can get good information and, good knowledge and, without being biased and not trying to, steer anybody in one direction or another, because there's a million answers for the same questions out there online. So, but we appreciate you definitely. So how did you get started? Let's go back to the beginning of car audio days. Like, was it just like you heard your first system and then you're like, man, this is what I want to do?
Well, you're trying to take it way back.
Yeah. Like the beginning of it,
I want to say it was like 96 or so. When I was in high school,
yeah,
I mean, I heard, a couple loud, vehicles. I think I went to a couple DB drag shows, way back when.
Yeah.
And
nobody knows about those. Those are that's old school. Right there.
I think, and honestly, I think the very first show it was a Circuit City show.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I mean, if that tells you how long ago it's been. It's been a while.
Right.
So I got into it, around 96, 97. We built our first, big SPL vehicle in 98, 99. I think it was like 99. All over the Midwest. Like we got a finals invite that year, but unfortunately, like 2 weeks before finals, I think we had like one more show left that we had to, meet the final criteria. I think we needed like 8 or 10 points or something like that. It wasn't a whole lot.
Yeah.
Somebody had broken into the vehicle and stole all the amps out.
Nice.
So I mean, poor college kids back then. You can't just, I mean, back then I think, the 1,000-watt amplifier was, $1,200-$1,500.
Yep. It was $1 a watt all day. Yeah.
I mean, it was expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So, poor college kids wasn't, coming up with $5,000 overnight to buy a couple amplifiers, to get through the season. So that kind of put a halt to that. I think that that caused a big long break. Let me refresh that. It was 2000 that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I did much in 2001. 2000, 9/11 happened, so I joined the Army in 2000, late 2002.
Okay.
So, I was, went to basic, was, went to Fort Stewart, Georgia for, 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Georgia for 9 years. And then, after I got out, I moved back to Indiana and, didn't really know what I wanted to do. Like, while I was in the Army, I kind of played a little bit, with car audio again, nothing crazy. I mean, it was still had a couple 12s, 5,000 watts, nothing like now. But I mean, for the time, it was pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
I got out of the Army and then, kind of, messed around for a couple years, didn't really do much, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I had a couple small jobs and I'm like, man, I can't work for anybody anymore. Like, nobody wants to show up on time. People wouldn't do what they're supposed to do. So it's like, I can't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I worked with DC Audio for about a year, almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
I was their, their tech support, they're, one of their phone operators for a little while. And then, 2013, me and Cody, we started Droppin Hertz, and I mean, we've been doing it since then.
Nice. Okay.
And then, of course, along the way, built, half a dozen, vehicles of my own. I just can't leave nothing alone. I can't leave anything stock. So
no, exactly.
Do you have a favorite of those?
Say that again.
Do you have a favorite of any of them?
Not really. I mean, they're all kind of special. I mean, my Xterra is probably my my biggest headache. I mean, it's been the one that I've had the longest.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's first 415 build, 812s, and I think now it's sitting with two. It's got two 18s in it now. So
yeah, that's like
constantly changing.
It's very similar to the Slingshot world. You just can't leave well enough alone. It's like, dude, you were probably fine, and it was great, and then you just one day thought maybe I should do something different. Then you do it different. Then you do something else, and you're like, I should have left it alone from the beginning. But that's
and that's one of those things. Like I'm a sucker for toys, so I got fed up with doing car audio, so I got tired of building the same vehicles. And I seen a Slingshot. I'm like, man, that's kind of cool. Let me go look at one. Went to the dealership, and it was, I don't know, it was in the spring times. It was still cold here. I mean, I went up there and looked at one. I was like, like they have a demo unit you can test drive. I was like, they ain't gonna let me drive it. It's like 40 degrees outside. So and then I test drove it and I walked in and I was like, let's see. Like, I'm not gonna get approved for one of these. And what do you know? Like 2 days later, I'm driving. I'm coming up to pick up one, and the first thing I did, like, I got on the highway. I wasn't even a half a mile from the dealership, and I'm like, this radio sucks. You can't hear it. As soon as I got on the highway, I couldn't hear nothing. So I'm like,
Can't hear it.
I went home, and of course we got we got some cold weather, so it was cold for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And like literally, I called Davis Distribution, ordered, the SSV pods, the sub pods, the headrest pods, the kick, the kick panel pods. And I, tore into it and didn't have a clue. And I was like, man, you know what? I'll do this and I'll start doing some on the side and everything else. And then once I ripped into it, I'm like, I'm not building another one of these. Like, just put a radio in. I have to tear the whole dash apart. No, I'm good. I don't want no part of it. So that was the first, and I'm like, man, I don't want to do any more of these things. These things suck. And then to get the sub boxes in, I didn't. Oh, you got to take the seats out. You got to strip the whole inside. I'm like, whose genius idea was to make them like this?
It's funny. Like after you do a few of them, it's like, it's no big deal. But initially, like when you're looking at it, and especially if you're doing it for like retail for a customer, they're like, well, you just got to put the box in. Like, you got to pull both seats. Like, they got to go forward. This whole panel's got to drop forward, and I got to take the armrest. So I was like, it's going to be a little more than $100. It's just trying to
Yeah,
make them understand that it's
you got to tell a customer that it's going to be like 6 or 7 hours labor to put a radio in sub box, and they're like, "What?
yeah,
Yeah, it's not.
yeah.
It's
It's
not
not
in
like
that.
it's not like the '04 Tahoe where you just pop the bezel off and hit the 7 millimeters and there's
Yep.
your kit, all right, we're good. It's not it's not that install. So, but
They're definitely different. That's for sure.
yeah, and yeah, I heard yours. I saw a video of your slingshot. You had it playing I think it was like a show, or maybe it was a demo, or it was somewhere. And it was sounding pretty good. I mean, of course, it was on the phone mic or whatever, but it was nice. Like, it was clean, it was bright. I can't remember what it was, but it was. I want to say maybe it was like inside an event, maybe, or it might have been outside.
Yeah, it might have been one of the World of Wheels shows. I've had it out there a couple
That's
years.
what it was.
And they have it like with the local promoter for that hall. He usually brings in demo vehicles, and that's most likely what it was.
Yeah.
And I mean, realistically, like, out of all the ones I've heard, and I've heard some, like, there's a lot of them that sound great. I think the only thing that I think mine's lacking is just this is bass. It's missing the low end, but I mean, it's technically it's a middleweight with tens. So
yeah. Well, that's why I tell everybody, man, just you could pick your own stuff apart forever, but just build it and be happy. You're good. Like, well, I tell everybody, don't try to compete in the slingshot world or audio, because it's up to like 3 random people with 3 random ears that have different sound tastes, and you won't be happy, and you'll be chasing that carrot forever. So just build it for you, and you'll always be happy. So, and if it's missing some low end, and you fix it, or you don't. You got other vehicles obviously with plenty of low end. So it's like like
the other thing is like I see some of these guys, it shows, they get upset because the 3 judges don't like it. I'm probably it takes a lot. Like, I've heard enough stuff. It takes a lot to really impress me. So
yeah.
Like, I'll build something. I'm like, I'll go to a show and I'll hear mine, I'll hear theirs, and I'm like, yeah, well, I'm not happy with it. So if I'm not happy with it, then it's getting changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if I'm happy with it and the judges don't like it, well, I don't care. Like, it's at that point, it's kind of subjective. What they like is not the same that what I like, but I can always pinpoint something that I don't like about it. So it's always available to be upgraded at any point in time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What so tell me a little bit about your business. You said you got your business partner Cody, and tell me a little about I guess how you guys met, and how Droppin Hurt started and that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, again, going way back, I met Cody. We were on the SMD forum, way back when. We were both selling DC audio online, through the forums, which was before that. DC had any online shops.
Yeah.
So we did that for a couple of years. I think his first set of subs he had bought from me. And we were pretty much selling subs back and forth to other customers, and DC said that that they were gonna basically go online, and me and him discussed it, and we decided, okay, well, maybe we'll go ahead, we'll set up a online business, website. And when we started, I think maybe we only had like 5 brands. I mean, we had DC. Some of the SMD stuff, Sky High, when Sky High was just wire, and a couple other ones, and then every year we're adding more, and now we're, I don't know how many, couldn't even tell you how many brands we have now.
Yeah.
He's got a warehouse in Virginia. I have one here in Indiana. He runs the main phone. The main office. So I'm up here, just orders come in, I'm shipping them out. I've got a handful of customers, in and shops up here that will come up and pick stuff up.
Mhm.
But for the most part, it's, you know, I don't do any walk-in stuff, because
No.
if someone walks in and, you know, it's just me up here. So
Yep. Yep.
if someone comes in and they, you know, they waste 2 hours of my time, you know,
Yeah.
talking about what they want, then I don't get anything done. And I
Yeah.
get all, when I have customers mad at me because their stuff didn't leave on time.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
you know, that's, you know, kind of where we're at. And we've just kindly growing, you know, each year. We used to both build vehicles every year, but, you know, it's kind of one of those things that, dealing with, you know, day-to-day operations, you just kind of lose the focus and the, you know, the determination to get these vehicles done, because there's no time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It takes a while, to get it right, to figure it out, and to, you know, put together a plan of what you're trying to do. And then, like you said, it takes away from the money you need to make to, you know, do our little hobby, you know?
Yeah. And really, I mean, that's pretty much, it all started out as a hobby, you know, and it turned into a business where it's like, well, you know, I can get paid to do stuff that I enjoy. And,
Yep.
you know, it's more now. It's like, well, I don't really enjoy it as much as I did because I don't have time to do it.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's what I've tried to step back from and try to enjoy it a little bit more. And like, we just went to the Arkansas event, and, you know, it tried to rain. Well, it did rain on us a little bit, but it was it's still fun. You know, it's like there could be worse jobs. You know, I got to drive Slingshot and hang out with people with Slingshots and talk about Slingshot stuff, you know, and it's like, that was work, you know, so it wasn't terrible. So that's,
Yeah. I think every time you get in yours, it rains. So
yeah, that's, man, you can't even
It rained on this weekend.
you can't even make that shit up anymore. Like, you know, when people will say stuff, they're like, I do this, and I always do this, and you're just like, all right, yeah, I don't know if that's true, but
I don't know how many videos I've seen you post of you driving down the highway in the rain. I'm like, you know, I think anytime I plan on going to a show, if you're going, I'm just gonna stay home.
Dude, I'm going to rain. It makes no sense. It's like, it could be no rain in the forecast, and then I get on the freeway, and I'm like, are those clouds? And I'll pull up my weather app. I'm like, you got to be shitting me. I'm like, all right, let's get the phone ready, because I can't just say it no more. I have to start showing proof, you know. It's got to be current proof. Like, I need to start putting the phone with the timestamp, you know, so people don't think I'm shooting videos from 2 years ago. It's like, it's always the case, but it's funny at this point. I'm like, whatever. Like, well, this last weekend my radio went out, you know, because it got wet, so I had to go to Walmart, buy a radio, and I'm put it in the at the car wash. It's stupid, but it's like, I'm not driving 5 hours with no music, so I'm gonna rig some shit in here.
I can't even sit in mine for 5 hours. Like, I get in there and I try to get out. My back is done. I'm like, nope. 2 hours is about, you know, the most. I mean, I could physically. I mean, it'll drive that far, but I just I can't do it.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely wears you out. And every time I'm in it and I'm driving, I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this. This kind of sucks. I'm uncomfortable. It's not fun. And then afterwards, you're like, that was cool. You know, you forget how uncomfortable you were for that little bit of time. And then it's like, I'll do it again. And then once again, you get in it and you're like, shit, you know, I've already, you know, obligated myself for this 10-hour journey, you know? So it's fun though. It definitely is. Like I said, there could be worse jobs, but, you know, at this point, with the rain, it's funny because people, Black Mamba, she was there, Tanya, with her Slingshot, and she's like, what do you do before you leave? Is there some kind of like procedure or ritual you do to make it rain every damn time? Like, you need to stop that shit. However
you do your little rain dance.
Yeah, however you're walking around your house, is it creating this shit? Like, you need to stop. And I'm like, dude, you're right. Like, you can't even make it up anymore. It's going to happen. So
you're going out the front door to leave. You need to start going out the back door.
Yeah,
you
I got to change
everything around.
Yep, exactly. But it's ridiculous. But yeah, it's still fun. I think it's like I said, there could be worse jobs, you know, like even, you know, selling audio product and talking about cool shit, you know, like when you talk to other people that have like, I don't want to call it a real business. It's not like what we do isn't a real business, but, you know, you talk to like, you know, Ted's real job, which is, you know, like transportation stuff, you know, blah, blah, blah. If you talk to somebody that doesn't know anything about Slingshots and they have like a real job, and then you say, oh yeah, I sell audio. And they're like, how do you support your family? You know,
So
like
so what you mean to say is we don't have respectable jobs.
that's it. Yeah, it's, you looked at it a little different. Like you're getting your hair cut at a new place, and they're like, oh, so what do you do? I'm like, I make boxes for Slingshots. And like, what is that? Like, do you get a government check? Like, they look at you like, you're just, how do you pay your bills?
What you're saying is, I'll kind of give you a story that that kind of goes into it. Like, it's probably been, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago. We was, the kids are going to, I'm not gonna say a great school, but they weren't going in, schools that like we went to when we were kids. It's a nicer school.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So we're not kind of looked at as like the high end or the preferred parents. You see some of the other parents are coming in like Lexuses. They're coming in from work. They still got their scrubs on or whatever. And then I pull up to pick my kids up, and I got them a lifted excursion, bright green lifted excursion, kind of stands out. And like every time I'm picking the kids up, I'm picking up in a different vehicle. They're like like we're looked at like, oh, these guys are these are the drug dealers' kids. I'm like, no, like I pay my taxes just like everybody else does. I get up and I go to work. I'm not a doctor. I'm not saving any lives a day, but I still have a real job.
Yep.
So yeah.
See, Johnathan doesn't understand that because he went to school with a special helmet on, so he don't get it.
That is the short bus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
right.
I get it. Like we don't. What we do, like they see, oh well, these guys have never haven't grown up, like they're just still playing with toys. Well, yeah, we are, but no, we were smart enough to get paid to play with our toys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my wife, she's she's a business professional, and she's got multiple degrees, and she always jokes with me. She's like, "Are you done playing Slingshot for today?" She's like, "You gonna go play Slingshot with your little friends?" It's just it's just funny, because it's such a different industry. I mean, there's money for sure to make, and it is. It's like you said, it's the kids that never really wanted to grow up, and we still get to do something cool, and every now and then you gotta like refresh your memory or your mind and go, man, this isn't a bad job, like I'm not counting numbers and doing spreadsheets and no bullshit. It's like I gotta put 415s in the back of this Civic somehow, like
I can tell you now, some days it's not an easy task. Like people say that what they want, and you're like, I don't know, that's kind of that's pushing it. I've got good at putting stuff, putting amplifiers and speakers in places they ain't supposed to be and pushing the boundaries, but you're asking for a whole lot.
Yep, exactly. Well, and that's what what it turns into is the customer being honest with what they really want. Like especially in the Slingshot world, it turns into well, I don't want to compete. I just want it to sound good. I'm like, then you won't be able to compete with something that sounds good. Just so what the price we're about to talk about is not a competition price. And I think shops got to do a better job of telling people straight up, hey man, you don't want to spend that kind of money, and this is what it's going to cost you. And like turn down $2,000 because they want $2,000 worth of competition audio, and you can't do that with $2,000. And that's
the other thing is when they say they just want it to sound good. I mean, I've never had a customer in this said they want a bunch of stuff and they want it to sound bad. So like saying that they want it to sound good is, like it shouldn't even be part of the the equation. Like it's kind of implied that you want it to sound good. You want it sounding better than what it sounds now. So
no, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's where some of the disconnect comes with the Slingshot audio world, at least, because they see so many misrepresentations of what they hear with Slingshot audio. Like, if you hear you go to a Slingshot audio competition and they play it for 1 minute, that's not 1 minute on the freeway, or like they're not playing it like that for 4 hours on the drive. Like that's 1 minute. And if it was for 5 minutes, that shit would blow,
Well, I mean, you say that, but then you got dumb people like me that literally that way that I'm going to play it for 1 minute, I'm going to play it going down the highway, and I'm going to play it like that for the next, wherever I go. Now,
Oh no,
there's
I
been
agree.
several days that we pulled in the garage, and I'm like, I'll look at my wife like, "Are you going to answer your phone? It's been ringing for the past 15 minutes."
Yeah.
And she'll look at me. She's like, "My phone's not ringing." Well, it's ringing. Something's ringing in my ear.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the next day, like,
Yep.
I'll go to sleep and I can't sleep because my ears are ringing and they're ringing all night because I've been playing the system at max volume for 2 hours.
Yep, exactly, yep. And it's funny because there's so many giant systems out there that a lot of that isn't a real representation of how it's going to sound like in your Slingshot, and
No.
or like when we always have the discussion about batteries and stuff on the group, because people, they need that education. They need to know that if you're going to do 6 amps in your Slingshot, you're probably going to spend about $3,000 in power management, and you don't get to see that. That's not pretty. It's just hidden, but it's going to be there so you can have 6 amps.
And the biggest thing about that is it like every time we get the discussion pops up in the group, it makes my head hurt because I've seen so many of them that I'm like, it just scares me because like some of these Slingshots are with batteries, like it's just dangerous. I don't know how some people just they need to keep their lucky rabbit's foot in their pocket every time they take it out because some of the stuff I've seen is sketchy.
No.
Just with the way lithium is and how I mean lithium's great, but if you've seen it fail, like you don't want to see it again. It gets bad quick.
And I worry about that. I really do. And I put mine in the front, so it gets the most air. And if it catches on fire, it's away. But, because I don't know, like I drive mine. I don't trailer it. So it's getting rain. It's getting 140-degree concrete, for 20 hours straight. And it's going to be abused. And we're going to see. I'm still testing it, to be honest. I've only had it, 8 months. And, so far so good, but I guess I've only been on like 4 or 5 trips, so I haven't really tested it. So yeah, it is. It's I don't know, but then certain people, I say that, but then people will say that you're never gonna have a problem. It's not gonna be an issue. I'm like, but I don't trailer mine. I drive it, and that's 2 different people.
Well, they also say, well, it's working for now. Yeah, it's gonna work till it don't. Like that's the worst part. Like I've seen some of them, like, and I know it's worked, for several people, but you see the guys putting the battery, the lithium batteries in the front of the engine, where the air intake goes.
That's scary to me. Yeah.
That's scary because, like, I know, they're like, well, a lot of the batteries are using, like, most of them are using like the Yinlong stuff, which isn't under the hood rated. Now that is one of the more safer chemistry batteries, so I mean that's a plus. And then I've seen some of them where they're in front of the radiator, but the box the batteries are so big they're blocking the whole radiator. So I mean the long term effects, how's that going to affect the engine? Especially you see some of the guys in Florida or Texas, those guys have horrible heat. So and then when it comes to lithium, that's the big killer is heat.
Yeah.
So I mean it works for now, but what's going to happen and where they're at, like you got to disassemble the whole thing to get it out. So if one was to fail, you would never get it out there before it burnt to the ground. So those are all all factors that you gotta look into. And for me, I'm not a big fan of these big high output alternators for the Slingshots. Anything over a 240 I think is a waste because that at the end of the day that's only a 2.4 and then the newer ones are 2.0. So I mean it's a small 4-cylinder engine trying to turn over 370, 400, 450 amp alternator. So I mean it puts a huge strain on the the engine itself. And then you factor in the weight. Like I don't know if anybody other than me has looked at the spec sheet of how much weight is acceptable to put in a Slingshot, but like passenger weight, I think it's only rated for like 570 pounds or something like that. It's a low number, and I'm like, I know I got more than that in just batteries and audio, let alone, you know, me and a passenger. So, you know, like all that stuff, you know, adds up quick.
Yeah.
And, you know, like the Slingshots, like they all, you know, the factory size is that 30 series battery. Well, you know, all of the ones on the market, you know, they're all limited to input charge. So I think the biggest one that I've seen is 200, you know, it's 100 or 200 amps. So if you throw a big alternator on there, you're already feeding that battery more than it's supposed to have in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't take into consideration that you add lights on and people leave them on and they're running the batteries dead, you know, almost dead, and they're, you know, starting it. As soon as you start it, then you're just, you know, the alternator is just dumping all the current into the batteries. So that's another thing that causes failures.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of stuff that, you know, people don't think about or consider when they're, you know, they're buying these expensive batteries. And just like you said, I mean, some of these audio systems, you $5,000 or $6,000 in batteries, easy.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
$6,
And
$7,
it
$8 a piece.
turns into you do have to have that honest conversation with the customer and with the people, and just really the more knowledge, the better. You know, I mean, it's kind of, you know, the car audio world has tested a lot of this stuff, so they know what works and what don't work. You know what batteries you can put under the hood of your truck and what you shouldn't. And so Slingshots, you know, is, you know, they're definitely still testing a lot of that, but I've seen multiple photos of people with the batteries, like you said, in front of the motor that fail. Like, I mean, at least 6 photos of different people that have had it fail. And it's like, yeah, because it's hot and it ain't supposed to go there. And then there's a whole other conversation of like charging. Like a lithium battery doesn't charge at 370 amps. Like they're not for that. And I know, okay,
some of them do. Some of them do, but the ones that we're putting in Slingshots don't.
No, exactly. That's what I say. They absolutely don't. Like, so it's, you know, they're supposed to be charging at like 40 amps or something. It's low, you know, and it's I don't know. Yeah, it's just it's always up for debate, you know, and people will definitely go back and forth with I always post I'll post that question just to get the different answers, you know, to see what people are talking about, because there unfortunately there's a bunch of information out there, and I hate to say it, but shops don't want to pass on money, and I get it. You got bills to pay, you got families to feed, but at what cost? You know, like to make $2,000 today and lose 10,000 because this person, you know, you just want to sell them something. You know, it's just that's a tip.
You say that, and like I see it. You know, me being a business person myself, you know, I rely on customers to buy stuff, but you know, I see some people that really will just, they'll come out the customer, they'll hit them with full retail right out the gate, you know, no breaks. This is what it is. You know, they want to get all the money right in the front. Well, you know, I know what it was like not being able to afford, you know, half the stuff that I wanted. So like, if I can help somebody out, I will, because I know at the end of the day, they're not going to, you know, they're going to get it. They're going to, you know, they're going to enjoy it for 6, 8 a year. And then they're going to want to upgrade. Like, I want the long-term customer that comes back, you know, every time they need something else, and not just, I don't want to see customers one time and like, oh, well, I'll find somebody else, you know, and it's, you know, I see it all the time. And my biggest complaint about some shops is once they get that money and the customer's out the door, and the customer has an issue, they don't want to help them. They're like, oh, well, sorry, you know, can't help you. You know, I'm like totally against it. Like, if you buy something from me today and you have an issue tomorrow, I want to, you know, do everything I can to make sure you're taken care of, you know, within reason. So, you know, I want the long-term customers, and, you know, you just take the time to educate them on some of the stuff that they're doing, and, you know, doing it right. Like, if someone asks about a high output alternator, I just tell them they don't need it. Like, realistically, the only thing they need is that, you know, that boost module, you know, to bypass that, you know, the factory 13, 6, 8, whatever the, you know, the factory charging is. You don't, outside of that, you really don't need anything else, because it charges at 14.8 if you get the fixed one, or you can get the adjustable one and, you know, charge up to 15.5.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody about that today. You know, I mean, I've still got the factory alternator in mine. I've got the module, and it charges at 14.8, and it stays at 14.8. and it's my little lithiums are at 14.8, and so and then there's a whole discussion about, well, what about the amperage and the batteries and the amps? Will they put out the power because they need amperage? And it's like, I know that's a whole conversation, but the 14.8 is 14.8. Like the amps are rated at 14.4 and up.
And the other thing is that factory alternator, like it has, I want to say it idle. I think it's right around 150 or 170 amps of output. So, I mean, realistically, that's the one thing I've changed on mine. I have a factory alternator. I have, the first system I had the 14.8 boost module, and I think the last time I rebuilt it, I went to the adjustable one, where you can adjust it up to 15.5. I have mine set cold at 15.3 because above, once it hits 15.3, then you get the dummy lights on that pop up on the screen saying your battery's not charging or whatever. The only time I ever see that come on is when the temperature drops at night. And if it comes on, I literally reach down and turn the volume up one click, and it'll turn it off. And then I'll just back the volume back down and just keep going. And that's really all you need. And I haven't had any issues with it. I like it. It's
I think it's the simpler. The simpler the way, I think is works the best. And and there's people that buy the JS alternators or the Megmans, and they're fine. They're great. And that's
they're great. They're great units, but I don't think they're needed.
Yeah, I tell everybody, like, I'm not here to try to tell you how to put together your system or try to, disagree with your sales guy, but I don't, you don't need it. I don't think you need it. If you don't have batteries to push it, or you're trying to do it into a Optima, like, what are you even doing? Like, that seems to me like they're just trying to sell you something, and I hate that. The sales.
And the other thing about the alternators is nobody tells you that you put the new alternator on that you got to get it. You have to figure out what size belt you need, because nobody knows. They'll tell you, oh, we'll start with 1 inch shorter. So you'll be at the parts store 5 or 6 times trying to find the right length alternator or the right length belt to fit your alternator, so it works.
Yeah,
stock one's on there. I know I'm not putting too much extra strain on the engine, trying to turn with the pulleys and everything else. Stock and a boost module is all I recommend, and plenty of battery power. Like, if you got let's say 10,000 watts, I'll recommend you get about 15,000 watts worth of battery power. So you got plenty of reserve, and you don't have to worry about it. You're not pushing the batteries to the limit. You're not overrunning your charging system. You have some headroom, and you have a sufficient charging source. And when you pull it in the garage at night, if you have the right charger, plug it in and let it be.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I tell everybody you should plug it in every night. Like, just keep them
battery
on.
Maintenance is key. It's batteries is one of those things that once you take it out of the box, the life cycle starts going down. Like, it's not when if you put it on the shelf brand new, if you don't maintain it, it's going down.
Exactly.
So you're eventually going to replace them at some point.
And it's a lot of just information, and just teaching the customer and not trying to just sell them something. You're trying to just help them along the way. Like you said, the longevity customer is the best customer. The money today is short-lived. I mean, it's just the long money is always better.
A lot of shops don't realize that you have a customer, and you might be doing something with that customer. They'll tell a friend, and that customer, and then you'll get a new customer from that recommendation. And a lot of people don't understand that. And it's how you take care of that person. And sometimes they come on these Facebook pages, one like ours, and they'll say, "Hey, I had a problem with this person. Can anybody know this person? That doesn't look good."
Yeah.
And the other thing is if you do it wrong, that works the same way. Like, that one person you do wrong is like the negativity is gonna spread a lot faster than the positive stuff. Because if you do right by one customer, they might not tell nobody. They might just not. They just might just pick up and move on. But if you do one person wrong, they're guaranteed to tell at least 10 people on how you did wrong. So you're better off just doing it right and, letting it be.
It's always a good test of a business that I like to see is, just how they take care of the customer, whether if it's a $50 part, if it's a $30 part, if it's my cheap, $189 box, like I've had them break in shipping, and UPS breaks it or whatever. And it's like, come on, man.
Those are the worst guys.
They're horrible. And
oh my God.
And I'll have customers tell me like, man, everybody's ready for an argument. They're all ready for some bullshit. That's just the way it is because nobody takes care of customers. So they're ready for some bullshit and they'll call and say, hey man, a box broke in shipping, they're ready for that argument. I'm like, oh man, UPS sucks. No problem, bro. I got you. I'll take care of it. I'll ship you another one. And they're like, oh, and it's like, shit. They didn't know how to react because they were ready for that boxing match. I'm like, dude, it's no big deal. It's stupid. It ain't your fault. It's not my fault. I'm not gonna tell you, get fucked. It's not like that. And then that one customer, I've had it happen multiple times. Somebody will call me and say, hey man, my homeboy said, you sell boxes. He had a problem, but you took care of it. I'm like, hey, who gets referrals from a warranty or who gets a referral from a problem? Like nobody does.
Yeah.
You took care of them, and that's. It's happened more than once, even when I had a tent shop, getting a job off a warranty, and it's like, that's crazy. He had a problem, but he recommended us. That means you did something right, and I think that's the core of what any business should be, but.
Well, I mean, there's always at some point, there's always going to be something that happens, whether, UPS, UPS messes it up, the post office loses it, or hell, I just dropped the ball and forget to do something. It's happened. But, if somebody reached out and say, hey, I didn't get this product, like I'm going to start looking and figuring out like, where it went, did it get misshipped? Did it get lost? The order get lost? What the deal is, and like you said, there's always somebody that wants to have a boxing match. Like, oh, you're just trying to rip me off.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not going to jeopardize my reputation and my business for $100.
Yes.
That $100 is not. I'm not going to get rich off $100. That'll cover, taking the kids and the wife out to dinner maybe one time. Yeah. So it's gone.
Yep.
Now the long-term effect of that, doing wrong that one customer is going to cost me more than the $100.
Yep.
But
exactly.
You just got to look into it and be like, hey, listen, I messed up. Like I lost the order. I didn't ship it. Whatever. Yep. Like I'll be honest with you. Like, hey, I'll get it out right now.
Yeah,
and that's what you want.
Just exactly like you said. If you just never let your pride get in the way of your money, and that is, I see so many shops and businesses or whatever you want to call it, platforms, whatever. Like people are so wrapped up in who they think they are that they can't just be like, yo, man, that's my bad. Let me make it right. And it's like, that's easy. It's easy to do that. And people will take that and preach it to the moon, like, man, this is the guy you want to deal with because he's the real guy, or that's the real person. Like, it's just, I see it a lot, in the community, especially with Slingshot stuff, since it is new and it's, it's a lot of people that have an extra 20 grand that they're throwing money at, so they got a $20,000 Slingshot. They're throwing tens and thousands of dollars at it. And there's plenty of shops can't wait to take that money. And if you're cool with whatever problem or humble as a shop and just take care of whatever issue, then man, they keep coming back. They'll keep coming back to you. But I've seen it multiple times where people will just get weird about whatever situation. There's always, two sides to the story and then the truth. But of course, online, everybody's,
well, and I think the big thing now is, like you said, all these social media platforms and everything else, like everybody has this huge ego that they have to, portray themselves as being the best. Like, I don't care if you think I'm the best or not. Like I have one way that I'm going to do it, whether it's, the right way, the wrong way, or, the way you want it done. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to do it, the way I think is best. And if it fits you, then it fits you. Yep. Or, the guy down the road, I don't care if you know who I am. I'm just trying to sell you a product and do it right.
Yes. That's right.
I see some businesses like they're just pushing, oh well, my name is so and so, like I'm, the best there, the best there is, whatever, which
Yeah.
is fine. I mean, if that works for them, that works for them. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care if everybody knows who I am or not. I'm just, as long as my family's fed and I can keep up with my hobbies, I don't really care.
Yep.
It don't make a difference to me.
Yeah, exactly.
I generally enjoy some of the stuff that I do. So
that's what it
Hey,
is,
Jeff.
man. Just being humble.
Hey, Jeff,
about
you got a couple of shout outs in a comment section. You got TJ. He said, what's going on? He appreciates the advice. Also, Jason Simmons.
Okay.
And then you got a question from Jason. He said that can you, or actually both you and Johnathan, can you guys talk about mixing battery technology, pros and cons?
I don't really recommend it. Typically, like, with chemistries, I mean, it's not, like AGM batteries. I mean, they're all the same. It's whether it's in different manufacturer, it's still the same technology. But mixing chemistries, I don't advise it, just because some chemistries, they charge at a different, they have a different, charging voltage than the other. I mean, some of them are compatible, but I would kind of advise against it. I would try to keep, whatever brand that you're using, I would keep them the same. Now there are some chemistries that you can mix with like AGM, like for example, the excess power, the Titan 8 series, you can mix those with AGMs and they work really well. Like if you have like an S5, like for example, like in my car, I have two of the S5, the Titan S5 or Power S5s in the back, powering a Sound Digital 12K, and then under the hood, I just have an excess power, stock replacement AGM, and the AGM works as good as raises the reserve capacity, and then the lithium has your instant discharge. So those types, they work, but I've seen people trying to, in slingshots especially, like they'll use some of the Yinlong cell or the Yinlong based lithiums. I know there's a couple guys like Excess Power has some. I think Ralph, he makes, he has some case units. I'll see guys using those and then trying to mix
Concrete
them
Audio.
Yeah, that's it. Concrete has some. And then I see some of the guys trying to mix those batteries with like factory location AGMs. To me, that's a big no-go, because technically the Yinlong cells, it's an S6 platform. So technically, like if you were looking at as like a regular battery, that would be compatible to like a 14-volt battery, whereas your AGM is a 12-volt battery. So one ideally needs to be charged in the high 15-volt range, and then the AGM has a max charging of 14.8, 14.9. So one of the batteries is not going to be fully charged, and then when you turn the slingshot off and it rests, it's going to pull both batteries down to the lowest resting voltage, which is going to be the AGM in that case. So your lithium battery is going to be pulled down to 13-volt range, and on a 14-volt battery, 13.8 sounds good to most people, but on a 14-volt battery, 13.8 is almost dead. So I would advise against mixing chemistries. I would keep them the same, and just keep the like chemistries together. And I would even go as far as keeping the brands the same, so that way the cells are the same, but the same capacity. And I would even take it even a step farther and buy the batteries together, so you can hopefully get them at the same batch. Like the manufacturing data are the same, so they're going to be as close to the same as possible. Because you can buy a battery today, and you can buy the same battery 6 months from now, and one can have better cells than the other just from the time that they were manufactured.
Yep. Yeah. That's some of that insightful stuff that that people just don't know. Like they just don't know that's a thing. Like that could go with amplifiers even. Like that. They're sure they got them. Tested or whatever, this batch or whatever. I mean that makes sense, but they could be different. There's parts are different, product different, quality different. The production lines, and especially with batteries when you're assembling something, and whether you're doing an AGM, if it's gel cell or whatever. I mean, it's like you said, the same batch of whatever they mix to put it together to make that battery.
Well, the biggest thing with batteries now is, like, you can get batteries from so many places. I mean, you got your big manufacturers, that are making legit batteries, and then you got some small time guys that are ordering their own cells, and they're manufacturing their they're making batteries to sell as a business, which isn't an issue. Like, I don't think I'm not going to fault somebody for trying to make money, but a lot of these cells, they're coming from they're coming out of China, whatever, AliExpress, wherever. There's so many dishonest sellers in China, passing off, reject cells, basically just trash cells that shouldn't be sold on the open market. They're pushing them to the U.S. and the end consumer doesn't know what they're getting, and they're getting a bad product that could potentially fail. There's nothing worse than telling the customer, hey, that new $800 battery you bought from so and so, well, it's not any good, you need to replace it. I don't want to be the bad guy to say that. Or even if they buy a battery from us and it goes bad, and then it's sent in, and and the manufacturer says, well, this battery failed due to abuse because it was improperly installed or maintained or whatever, then you got to tell the customer, hey, the manufacturers, they're not going to cover this because they're saying you did this and this and this wrong, so you're going to have to buy another battery. So at that end of that day, guess who's the bad guy? I am, because I have to be the one to give the customer the bad news. So whether you buy a battery from me or not, I just want to give you the most knowledge on that product, so you don't have any issues, because I don't want to see nothing. I've seen it online. This person is leaving from a show and had an accident because this or that, something failed. It's all stuff that can be easily avoided with the right knowledge, and a lot of businesses just doesn't share that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, we have a question from TJ. He said, is Jeff planning on bringing a Slingshot to any of the shows this year? I still haven't seen it or heard it in person.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what my schedule looks like for this year. I don't really, I've talked to Larry Oliver about going to the French Lick three-wheel showdown show. That's kind of up in the air. I know, like, the next show that I'm for sure going to is going to be Slamology in 2 weeks. That's usually the only show that I can guarantee that I'm out every year. One, it's basically right here in my backyard, and two, it's one of the biggest shows in the country every year. I mean, I think when I pre-registered last week, I think the last entry I had was, I think I was like 10,000, like 97, something like that. So there was over 10,000 vehicles already pre-registered for the show. I'm willing to bet that there'll probably be 1,500, 1,600 entries for the whole show. I mean, it's a whole weekend show. It's not just slingshots. I mean, it's a full car audio show, car show, music festival. They'll have bands, playing on stage literally all weekend. So, I mean, it's a big family show. That's the only one that I'm guaranteed that I will be at every year. And we are also one of the sponsors for it. So, we sponsor the car show judging lane. So, we definitely try to show up. I've been going to that show since 2011. As just a regular competitor. I think we started, got in the sponsoring platform around 2015, 16 time. So, I mean, it's a big show, but I have a list of shows that I planned on going to, but I'm gonna miss the one next weekend because I'm not done with my daughter's stuff. So that'll be the first show. I think I haven't really seen any other shows that's relatively close that fits. Like, I know there's a SS Takeover show in Ohio, I think it is, in June, but that show is on the same weekend as Slamology, so I won't make that show. So I just have to kind of pick and choose, once all the shows show up, once their schedules pop up, I'll kind of look and see. I mean, there's I can't think who does the audio, but there's the Savannah Strong show. It's here every year, and I haven't made it. Still haven't been able to make it, and it's literally 20 minutes away. There's always been another show that's that had prior obligations to go to. Like the first year that I got my Slingshot done, I was going to go, and it rained the whole weekend. The second year, I ended up driving to Iowa instead of staying for a local show here. So, it all depends.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm gonna try to get out more and and try to get things done. I'm not like Johnathan. I'm not gonna try to drive that thing 6 or 7 hours.
That's what I was gonna say, man. Let me know which one you want to drive to. We can meet halfway.
I got like
7 hours.
I'm not scared of the water or the rain. I'm more scared of getting into getting stuck in the rain and it killing amplifiers because God, that's the big killer. And then those things, to me, I don't feel comfortable riding those things when they're wet. I've seen too many of them, slide, flip over. I'll pass.
Oh yeah, no, I've had my
team trailer.
Yep, like I just got a trailer last year, so I just got my excursion fixed last year, so I mean.
You say that
I don't have a problem.
The trailer, like I had I always brag about Team No Trailer, and every now and then I'm thinking, trailers are way smarter because it's like air conditioned and you got heat, you're not getting rained on. But then I see like Jack on the way to Myrtle Beach this weekend or last week gets a flat on his motorhome, and I'm like,
twice
that. And then another guy gets a flat on the way back to his house, and Jason, I read the post where I guess Jason Simmons helped him out, and then like 20 minutes from his house, he gets another flat. I'm like, fuck them trailers, man. Them guys, like everybody's. And then Brad last year going to Florida messed up like a tire and an axle, and I'm like, everybody's trailer's breaking, man. I'm just driving my Slingshot. I need a tire.
And you ain't like. Like I have my trailer set up, the way I want it. Like, I haven't transported the Slingshot in yet, but on the motorcycles and stuff. I mean, I have two big pop-up tents. I got chairs.
Nice.
I want to be comfortable. Like, I don't want to get there and have to stand around, after, let's say I drove 5 hours in it. Like, I'm not going to get out there and stand. Like, I got chairs in there. Like, I have it set up with, all the luxuries. I got a cooler in there. Yep. So I don't have AC in it yet. That's on the agenda to do, but generators in there, chargers in there. So like all the luxuries of maintenance stuff that I have is there.
Yeah. That's cool.
I just, and like I said, I've started getting, and I'm planning on getting out more, taking my daughter to shows. Well, she can't really, that scooter's, I mean, it's not going to ride on the highway very well. So,
so what are you doing to the scooter? Let's talk about that, because I'm trying to start the whole scooter movement. I've like dubbed the whole scooter movement. I'm trying to start the scooter movement with the Slingshot events, because walking around that event sucks. So I bring my scooter, and I've got like TJ just bought a scooter, and a bunch of people are getting on Scooter Gang. And so tell us about your scooter, because I want to do an audio system. So now I'm going to take pointers from yours.
Well, during COVID, there was no shows. So I didn't have anything to do. And my daughter kept saying, hey, when are you going to, I've always built her Power Wheels. And they always got out of hand. The last one was stupid big. It had, 10-inch subwoofer on it, everything else, audio, big batteries. Well,
I didn't Power Wheel?
I didn't take into consideration that, I mean, it was a Power Wheels fire truck. Okay. I didn't take into consideration that, I got all this weight on it. It moves, but what's going to happen when you put a 60-pound kid in there?
Yeah.
Well, the first time we got together, she's driving around the neighborhood, the damn thing started smoking, and it wasn't the audio that was smoking; it was the plastic motors and they was just running them to death. So, I finished that in like 2019, I think. And then I was like, well, you know what? Let me look and see what I can find. So stuck in the house during COVID, minimal things to work on. So I started looking, and then I found the Ice Bear scooters, which is basically a Chinese knockoff of the Honda Ruckus. So I started looking at it, and then I found a trike. So I'm like, you know what? That's probably, would probably be better. So I started looking. Of course, couldn't get any. No, none of the dealerships around had them. So I was like, all right, well, I'll call the manufacturer. Let's see what it takes to set up to be a dealer. So I called them. They're like, oh, well, you gotta order 5, whatever. I'm like, all right, fine. I'll order 5 of them. Like, I'm sure there's enough people, in town looking to buy stuff that's had DUIs, don't have licenses or whatever. they need to get transportation.
Perfect.
So I should be able to sell the other 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I go through all that. They don't have any. They don't, they're stuck on the boat somewhere, and they don't know when they're going to get them. I waited probably 6-7 months. Couldn't. They didn't get one. They didn't know when any were coming. So I'm like, fine, I'll start looking. Well, I found one popped up in Tennessee, and I mean, it was a 2019. I think it had like 100 miles on it. Like, well, I started talking to the guy. I was like, well, I'll drive down and get it. So I borrowed a friend's truck. I drove the 6 hours east direction, got it, brought it back. And, I started working on it. Put something small on it. We took it to a couple shows the following year. And I'm like, man, of course, me being me, I'm like, it's not enough. Now I want it to be competitive. So I rebuilt it again. She ran it for like 2 years. And I mean, of course, we're going to motorcycle shows. So she's competing against, grown ass men, with Harleys. And I'm like, man, she always placed, top 2. So I mean, it was a solid build.
Uh-huh.
And then I got bored again. I'm like, you know what? Let's do something stupid. Like, all the rules changed. Let's push the limits. So over the winter time, I contacted a company in Texas. I was like, so I had a custom trailer axle made. I was like, let's add another axle to it. Let's put 4 wheels in the back of it. So I order the axle. I get it. I measure it. It's the right length. Because the shortest axle anybody has is 48 inches. So I had a custom axle. It's like 32 inches long. So of course they charge you a premium because it's custom.
Yeah.
So I get it, and we start working on it. And then I'm looking at the rules. I'm like, well, there's nothing in any of these rules that says anything about how many wheels these things have to have. So I'm like, all right, let's keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So I built a couple boxes. It's going on the back. I mean, it's going to have a lot. It's going to have about 135 amp hours of lithium. So it's got a lot. I ordered like 6 of the Power Sport Sound Digital amps because they're all exposed. So if it gets wet, it gets wet. No big deal.
Nice.
I fabricated some brackets for wake pod cans, to put on the front. Which seems to be common with a lot of these Rikers now. They're mounting wake cans on the on the sides. So I ordered like a 4-inch kicker cans, and I just bought it for the 1-inch handlebar mounts. So I took that off, put it on some 6.5-inch cans, put the 6.5-inch cans on there, and I'm like, well, 6.5 ain't enough. So then I had adapter rings made to 8s. So now this little scooter has 8-inch speakers in the front. I had a friend fabricate a tour pack bracket, so it's got a huge Harley tour pack on the back of it. So I mean, it gets out of hand quick. Like,
That's
I mean,
perfect.
it's and then like it probably was 2 months ago. We were talking, and she's like, "I want a Harley next." I'm like, "Listen, kid, I'm not buying you a Harley. Like, I know, I was like, there's Harley money in this scooter now. I was like, I'm not building you a Harley because that easily you're talking $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in a custom bike that just not going to happen. Like,
no,
you better get a job for that one. Like, I'm not building nothing after this. So, I don't know. I guess it kind of I've got enough stuff. Like, I don't have anything. Like, I don't have any real desire to build anything else for me. And the idea was, let's build something, not very expensive. And well, that went kind of south quick.
Yeah. No, that's like everything. Like, it always starts off with just something simple, and then 20 grand later, here you are, and you're like, what did I do?
Yeah.
That's cool. How old is she?
She's 13 now. I think honestly, what's crazy is I dug up some pictures. I mean, she's been going and competing in car shows since she was like 3.
Yeah.
Like I built the first Powerwheel for her when she was 2. Somebody was throwing away a little Volkswagen Bug that it needed a battery, didn't run very well. So I put a battery in, and nothing turned over. So of course I took the motors out and just soaked them in oil, and it broke all the nastiness out. The pedal was bad, but I mean it was around the time that all the Fast and Furious movies were first coming out. So I took the steering wheel off and I cut a section out of it, and I had an old push button from a nitrous purge system, and I just bonded the momentary switch right there in the steering wheel, and wired the motor straight to that. So as long as he's holding it down, you don't need the pedal. Just hold the button down.
Awesome.
And I mean, it had like a little BD4 channel. I had I had a friend of mine. He just ordered some regular black paint. He went above and beyond on the paint. And he painted it. And I took the wheels off and painted the wheels. I mean, it was threw a battery in it, and just random audio that I had laying around, and she's basically got a custom power that was started off as trash.
That's awesome though, man.
I ended up she played with it for a couple years. I mean, she took it to a couple car shows. I mean, she placed in some of the open class car show stuff, and she enjoyed it. She competed in some audio shows, and she got older. She kind of outgrew that one. I ended up giving it away to some other guy that had a young kid. Took the audio off. He built it for one of his kids and put audio back on it, and I built her a bigger one, and that took a couple years playing with that, and now she's up to the scooter. So I mean, she's been doing it for a while. So she enjoys it. Like she really gets into to the audio stuff. She's probably out of the 3 kids, she's the only one that really enjoys audio. The rest of them, the other 2 could care less. But she'll come to the shop. She'll work. Now I wouldn't classify it as real work, because she'll work for like 10 minutes, and then you'll catch her on top shelf of one of the racks taking a nap. So it's like, what are you doing? Like, you got to get this stuff done. Like, you got to take the trash out. You got to push move the do this, do that. So
that's cool though, man. That's what you got to do.
Told me last week, she goes, well, school's out. I'll be I'm going to come work with you every day. And I'm like, yeah, okay. You're getting up at 8:30 in the morning. I don't see that happening.
No. Yeah, exactly. That's pretty badass though, man. That's what it's about, is just getting people involved, or especially younger generation with audio and stuff like that. It's like it's kind of going away. Like we're kind of the I'm 49, and it's kind of like the dying breed of or audio is fun, and people younger is just like there's not anything hands-on is not fun to them. They're not building or creating shit. They don't want to do that. So
no, it's now making videos and playing on their phones and video games and stuff. Like like you ain't seeing a kid nowadays drinking water out of the hose. It ain't gonna happen. They're not going outside and staying outside till the street lights come on. They're in their rooms more than when we were kids. Like, we were told to get the hell out of the house. Like now kids they ain't leaving the house. Yeah. So
exactly.
It's changed a lot. But the other thing with the audio side of it now is, like, things are getting so big and so loud. Like, there's not a whole lot of places that will allow it. Like, I know some of these, these promoters and stuff, like, they're struggling to get venues that'll allow the, the noise, because I mean, they're just getting so big. I mean, how far can you hear something like some of these slingshots? Like, you can put two of the big slingshots side by side together. I mean, how far can you hear them? You can hear them a good ways.
It definitely gets ridiculous, and that's what you're right. It definitely turns into it is getting big. It's ridiculous. Like you said, where can you have an event? Well, like like Sling Experience, in Houston, I always recommend, tell everybody that's one you should go to because it's at the hotel, and the audio competition's there, like all the Slingshots are there, and it's pretty much a free for all, and it's loud, it's the audio's noisy, and you get too hot, you go in the room and take a nap. It's perfect.
That's perfect.
But
that's perfect.
It's really perfect. But I see a time where these hotels can be like, y'all can't do that shit here because it's ridiculous. Like it's getting over the top. Like a featherweight with 6 speakers and 1 sub is loud as shit now. Where 3 years ago it was cool, but now it's like, I don't want to stand near that thing. It's loud. So
well, like I said, like when we started, like the biggest amplifiers you had was 2,000 watt amplifiers. Like people are using that on tweeters now. Compression drivers, like now you got 20Ks, 30Ks, like so I mean, and they're running them in multiples. So
when I first started, I had a Orion 250 HECA, and that thing was humongous. I mean, it was long.
Yeah, those are the good old days of the big Rockford, or the Phoenix Gold, and Soundstream, just the crazy stuff that was that was a monster, it was a beast. And now I got 5 or 6 little 2400.4s, little sound deals. And like you said, I got a 1200 and a 2400.4 running on tweeters, and I'm one of those guys, and it's,
and then you can on these Slingshots you can stuff like 2 2400s under each seat and a 1200. And then you got guys like Jack making drop floors that now we can stick 4 amps under there. So it's all about it's all open to the imagination of where you can get stuff at. And stuff's just getting smaller and bigger, smaller footprint, bigger power output. Same thing with batteries. Speakers are dump 4,000, 5,000 watts to some of these speakers. So I mean, it's just going so fast up. Where when's it going to slow down? Where's it going to stop at?
Exactly.
It's
just evolving so fast.
Hey Jeff, tell me a little bit about Droppin Hertz, and what do y'all sell there at y'all's for your company?
What do we sell? I would say almost everything. But batteries, amplifiers, install accessories, wire, speakers, subwoofers, pretty much anything that you could possibly need for car audio, Slingshot, marine, Harley, applications. I mean, we pretty much have a little bit of everything. We don't really do installs. I mean, like we will do installs, but it's kind of like we won't do all installs. It's going to be, it's more of an appointment only type thing. And it would have to be something, that would kind of, interest one of us to do. I'm not saying that, I don't want to do everyone's stuff, but I just don't have time to do small installs.
No,
I mean, it has to be,
you have to tiptoe around. I know exactly where you're going. It's like you want to do it, but like a $4,000.
It has to make sense.
It's got to be a thing.
Like our main clientele is online. Like there's I ship stuff to everywhere. Like I know Jason Simmons needs stuff. Like I ship him stuff for his customers all the time. Like there's I help small guys that are just whether they're working out of a small building, their garage, like I provide this to the guys, like the customers like that. And then just the average person that's working in his driveway. Like we provide stuff for customers like that as well. So we don't, it's not like a walk-in, it's not like a Best Buy where you can just walk in like, hey, I need 6 speakers, an amplifier or whatever. If we don't have it here, then we have it shipped direct from the manufacturer, which we do both. Like we keep a lot of products, here in Indiana. We keep a lot of products in Virginia, and then we have pretty fast shipping system set up for direct shipment from a lot of the manufacturers as well. So I mean,
and I think I was even on your one of your lives, not your lives, but one of Cody's live doing a waffle one time.
Yep. He does a lot of the social media stuff. Like, normally when I get home, it's kind of hard to get me, on live. Like I don't think about doing lives during the day. I'm so focused on getting stuff done. I want to get things, accomplished, get things out the door. And by the time I'm like, oh, I should have did this, and well, I forgot. I get so sidetracked and doing daily stuff. I know he does. There's some things that he'll do, like he'll do a live where he's packaging orders, and I don't think about stuff like that. Well, and the other thing is the internet in my warehouse sucks. I'm right next to an airport, so they really the airport really has a lot of control over cell service and internet service in the area. So internet sucks. Like if I wanted to go live, you probably wouldn't get much. Like I can do basic stuff. Like I can get into the shipping software. I can check emails. I can watch Facebook videos, but outside of that, I can't do a whole lot.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of times I don't even have good cell service. I can't even take a phone call.
Nice.
Just because like I can get on my phone if I can keep my phone connected to the Wi-Fi in the warehouse, I can make some phone calls, but for the most part, I don't have good service over there either. So I guess it's a good thing that I can't do those things, but it's also a bad thing too.
Yeah, but it's good. At least you got a good team member, a good partner that can pick up the slack on that. Like Ted, like I said, Ted's the technical guru. He's the guy. He's behind the keyboard making the the screen savers happen and all this shit going on in the background and scrolling. Like he's the guy. I'm just the talker. So yeah, Ted's funny because he's like, I just had to watch a YouTube video on how to do it. I'm like, that's pretty good knowledge, man, to make all this shit happen. So
yeah, I seen like when I logged on, I seen his, and I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to do it, and I'm like, no, I can't do it. And whatever.
Yeah, some things I'm just like, nah, you're good. Good job. It's like, well, who do I pay? How much do I owe you this month? Good job. I don't want to get behind the keyboard. You got it. That's perfect.
Yeah, I think a lot of that stuff has changed. Like, if you got the time, I mean, you can watch a YouTube video to figure it out, but if you don't know what to search for, then it's going to take you forever to figure it out.
Yeah. Audio has a lot to do with that. Like car audio knowledge has a lot to do with that also, because when I say we, because we started doing it. It was there was no tech support. There was no internet. You just figured it out, and and then now that you're older and there is the internet, what questions to ask. Like I'm a magician online because I can ask the same question 5 different ways and get the right answer, where because I had to figure it out when I was young, and nowadays everything's on Google and everything's on
now
YouTube.
you can kind of start typing it in the search bar, and it automatically what you're trying to say automatically pops up because someone's already looked for it.
Yeah. And the bad part about it is sometimes you have terrible information, or clickbait videos, and it's not really what you're looking for, and you're like, come on, man, I just want to figure this out, or put an alternator in a car or something. It's a pain in the ass. But
and the same thing has happened. Like I've seen your questions to try to spark conversation, and where you're asking about batteries, and then you'll have every single time it's different answers, but there's always at least 2/3 of them that are just bad information.
Yeah. And Ted's always funny when he goes, don't ask that fucking battery question again. It's just they always give me shit. Him and Smitty both.
Well, like for probably the first half a dozen, I'm like, why is he asking that question again? Like we just went over this like 2 days ago. I'm like, does he not know what he's doing, or is he just? And then I finally realized that you were trying to spark conversation to get, a response, correct response versus, just, not knowing what you're doing.
Yeah, no, and that's why I say, like, I when I ask the questions, like, I know the answer. I just, because when people will go to the group and then they'll type in the search bar, like, what's a good speaker, and then all of a sudden, it'll fill their little whatever search bar with, those questions on Slingshot Audio Garage. So it's like, I know the answer. I just want to see what people say, because it really helps me weed out the people that are trying to help the community, or they're just trying to sell you something. Because a lot of times I'll see somebody just go, call me at so-and-so, I'll hook you up. And I'm like, that didn't answer the question, or somebody will just be shitty. And I'm like, that's not an answer to the question. It's like, I don't need the answer. I just want you to be helpful to a person that will need the answer, because I don't know everything, but there's a lot of people that know way less than me, about audio, so, and that's okay.
Well, and I think you're right. Like, you it's always something. Well, send me a message or give me a call. I'll take care of you. Well, that's not helping the problem. Like, does that person really know what they're asking?
Yeah.
I mean, are they really helping them, or are they just trying to either, if they're not a shop owner, are they trying to help the customer, or are they just, just a regular person off the street trying to offload some crap that they're not using anymore? Are they just trying to offload their old stuff? So,
exactly.
I get it. No. I 100% get it. And I see it too. Like, and I stopped commenting on some of them, because you'll see people like, well, how much is this? Yeah. Well, send me a message and I'll give you this. Like, I'm not gonna be one of the 50 people send you a message trying to play, let's undercut the other guy.
Yeah.
Race to zero to sell, a $200 part for $100. Like, I'm not going to give it away to, to gain whatever. And it's, or, you'll do that. You'll send them a price and like, well, I'll give you this for it. No, this isn't let's make a deal. Like, this is the price. It's a new item, from, I'm not selling you old junk, all this, that I got laying in the garage. This is a new product. So
exactly.
Sometimes Facebook can be a massive hassle on for businesses, because everybody wants it cheaper than than what you say. If you said, hey, I'm selling my Slingshot for $30,000, you're gonna have someone, well, I got 10. Okay, cool, you can keep your 10. When you say the other 20, let me know, I'll sell it to you for 30. So
it's funny, because
it can be frustrating.
I think sometimes Ted would probably take 10,000 for his Slingshot, because nobody's seen it in like years. So he's been working on his Slingshot for at least 3 years.
Yeah, but I mean, when he gets it done, hopefully he's happy with it. Did you just cut him off?
I don't know what happened to Johnathan.
I thought you got mad at him and shut him off.
No, I don't know. I don't know. Let's see if we can get him back. I don't know. Oh, he's back on. He came back on.
That's what happens when you make jokes about Ted's Slingshot. He's like, all of a sudden you're like, whoop, like, oh shit, I got deleted. It's like, it's my internet. But yeah, it is. It's everybody wants a deal, and it's like, I understand it. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's a whole thought process of never pay full price, and I get it, but there's certain things that are worth the full price. There's plenty of people on this platform, on Slingshot Audio Garage, and in car audio world, that have the knowledge, that have the product to go with the knowledge, that are straight shooters, but they also charge top dollar. And if you want that, then you will get that. But if you want the guy that'll charge you a little bit less, then maybe you won't get all the right information that you really need. And it doesn't mean that they don't know what they're talking about. Maybe they don't know enough about what they're talking about, and that's a gray area, of course. But it's there's levels to it. Whether we're talking batteries or lithium.
And I think custom prices. I mean, like custom stuff. Deserves custom prices. Like, if I'm going to do something, I mean, I think I'm well within reason. I mean, I typically would charge somebody, I don't know, for something custom, $100 an hour. I mean, that's pretty standard. I know there's shops that charge way more than that, but
Yep.
I mean, it's going to be like, listen, it's going to be there's going to be a time frame on it. It's not going to be something. Hey, I'm going to drop everything I'm doing to do it right now. You know, I mean, I'll work a realistic time frame, and you know, in my spare time, I'll work on it, and that's why you get the discounted rate. Now, if you say, hey, I need this done this week, I want you to drop everything you're doing. Okay, well, you're looking at $200 an hour, and I just won't sleep for the next 3 or 4 days. Like there is there's a right now price for everything, but you know,
and most people
you're gonna get every bit of it.
Yeah, most people don't have that kind of money. They think they do.
No, yeah, they think they do, but they don't. Yeah. Like, you know, I want the best of this.
Doing the work on yours, you don't have that kind of money. You really don't. They think they do, but it's fun. I get it. It turns into like I said, it's all about information and giving the customer, you know, the knowledge. You know, like sometimes. And I talk to people so much sometimes about things that I know they're going to go somewhere else, but I'm okay with them doing what they think they need to do or to go get whatever answer they need, whether it's a cheaper price or a lesser product or whatever. They need that answer because maybe they don't want to spend what I told them. I'm okay with that. I didn't bullshit them because I see it all the time, and they'll come back with a problem. I'm like, well, what do you have? And they'll tell me, and I'm like, yeah, that's your problem. You know, it's like, I wasn't, you know, you saved $500 and now that's what you got, you know.
I guess that kind of aggravates me sometimes is like some people, you know, you'll give them a whole list of, you know, you'll plan something out for them and they're like, okay, well, you know, I'll get back with you. And then they take that list and go down the road and buy it cheaper. And then next thing you know, 2 weeks later, they're sending you a message like, hey, having a problem with this, and this. I'm like, okay, well, you know, where'd you get it from? Well, I got it from so-and-so. Yeah. Well, why are you asking me like how to fix it? Like you paid them to do it. Like they're supposed to, you know, if they messed it up, then they got to be the ones to fix it. Like, I'm not in business to give you free advice for you to go somewhere else. And then you want more free advice to fix it. Like, it's not really the way that works.
I think car audio and Slingshot audio now is, I don't know. I think that's the only business that has that thing, you know, like you don't go to McDonald's and, you know, not like the price and go to Burger King and buy a burger and then go back to McDonald's and say, hey man, this burger don't taste good. Like, you didn't buy it from me, you know, like there's no other business that you do that to. It's weird.
Well, I've got to the point, like, you know, if you come in and I price something out and let's say it's $5,000. Well, and you go down the road and you buy something else from someone else and they put it in, they mess it up, and you bring it back. You come down to me and like, hey, you know, that stuff that, you know, that install that I wanted, you know, for $5,000, like I want to go ahead and get that now. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this is not the same. This isn't the same vehicle. Like it's all messed up now. So it's going to cost you $7,500. Well, why are you charging me more? Well, I'm going to charge you $2,500 to take all that stuff out, and then I'm going to charge you the original $5,000 to install it the way it was originally supposed to go in. Well, that's not right. Well, I mean, you've got to learn, you know, you have to learn life lessons, and you know, you can't expect someone's not going to fix someone else's mistake for free.
No.
Yep.
You know,
that's why I never do an install at a show. I would never do an install at a show because I'm not working behind some of the fire issues that are eventually going to happen with some of these Slingshots. Like, not doing it. It should be mandated that you open your hood at every contest and be judged underneath the hood. Like LEDs, audio, it should be mandated because some of that stuff is dangerous. Like I've seen it pull up and I'm like, dude, who did this shit? You know, like
I won't work behind somebody else. If I do an install that's if I work on something that's been priorly done, you know, my first step is to tear everything out and start over. That's just because I've told, you know, other shop owners, like, if you're the last person that touched it, whether someone else worked on it before you and you didn't touch that part, you own the whole install because you're the last installer. That's just the way it's going to be.
No, yeah. I've had to tell people that, like, you know, they want to do something for, you know, $6,000. And I'm like, this is what the price would be, but I can't do it. I'm like, well, why? Because all this has to be changed. Like I can't work behind that because it's just, and some of it, you know, I can be OCD about some of the way some of it looks, but if it's just a bad install, like I don't want to mess with it. You know, if your battery is strapped in with a bungee, come on, man. Like I'm afraid to see what the rest of it is, you know, like just twisted wires and taped, and it's not custom, you know, and just shit hanging underneath the slingshot. I'm like, why are you, you know, and what trips me out is the customer is, as you know, they're kind of picky with you, but they're okay with letting that shit ride. And I'm like, how are you okay with that? Like, this shit is 2 seconds away from catching on fire. But if a wire is barely off center, you're freaking out for me. And it's just so weird, the dynamic with that sometimes.
And
but
I get sometimes in these slingshot, there's limited room, but I mean, zip tie it neatly. Like, you know, you can't like sometimes you can't hide everything, but you can make it look neat and you can secure it or it's not going to be an issue. I mean, I've seen some guys, they pull up and you got, wires hanging like a foot down from underneath. I'm like, what are you doing? No zip ties, no nothing. It's just wrapped around, one of the, it's like Christmas lights wrapped around a rail. It's all down the frame rail. It's just spooled up.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, it's amazing, but it's definitely, it's never ending. I think it's like anything, it evolves and it gets better. I think the more knowledge that, guys like you that can give the community, that what we try to, hopefully that we're bringing with our page, that people can, just learn more and ask the questions of their installers. Like, hey, do you do this? Or do you do this? And, just so that they know they're getting whatever not so much the best price, but the best quality for what they're paying for, like just, they're not cutting corners because, you don't spend $50 extra. So it's like, I know there's levels to it, but the install should be the good install regardless of how much you spend, and so if you do it cheap for a cheap price, you still should do a good job. You can't say, well, they didn't want to spend shit, so I just rigged it. That's never okay.
You need to do that. No matter what the dollar amount is, you should still give a maximum effort on the whole thing. And I've seen it. Like if you say, okay, I'm going to quote you 20 hours of time, and you get let's say hour 19. You're like, well, fuck, I only got an hour left, and it's going to be another 4 hours. It's good enough. No, that's not. There's no such thing as it's good enough.
Yeah.
Like if you undercut yourself and you said 20 hours and it takes you 25, well, guess what? You're working 5 hours for free.
Yeah.
Hopefully, hopefully the overall, profit dollar amount, you can justify losing the 5 hours. If you don't, then next time you better add some extra time in there to offset it. Because if you say, hey, it's gonna, you do the next guy and you say, hey, it's gonna take 30 hours, and he agrees to 30 hours, and you do it in 25, and you say, okay, well, hey, I did it in 25 hours, so you don't owe me for 5 hours of time. They're gonna be a lot more happier knowing that they're saving money than you say, hey, that 20 hours, you owe me another 5 hours of labor. If you hit them with, you owe me more, they're going to be a little bit more upset than if it was to say, hey, I just saved you 5 hours of time.
Exactly. So, yeah, it is. It's all about education and just being honest with the customer, and that's always the battle, I think,
Yeah. And if you don't know how long it's going to take, you can just be honest. Say, I've never done this part, or I've never done this type before. I know I can do it, but I don't know how long it's going to take. So it's going to be by the hour. I mean, I can guess. I mean, it could be anywhere from 15 to 30. If they say, okay, let's do it, and it takes you 30 or 32, not a big deal. But you were at least honest in the beginning to say, I don't know how long it's going to take.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Jack said, you're a great guy. Perfect. He said, you're always willing to help and talk to people. He said, a customer said they spoke to you for an hour about a lithium, and you were super helpful, even without the guy that the guy, I guess, didn't purchase prior from you, but you talked to him for like an hour about lithium. So that's pretty cool. I mean, that's, you know, I know sometimes when I talk to customers, like I can talk, so that's not a problem, but I always look at it like it's I'm testing my customer service skills, you know, like
right.
Just to refresh what I'm talking about, you know. So you ask me a question about something, I'll go into the spiel about whatever, blah, 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 you know. So I always look at it like just testing my customer service skills. And you're right, sometimes it can be daunting and draining. You're just like, you know, shit, I just answered this question. But, you know, I think, yeah, if you give them the right information, then you did the right thing, you know, like, you know, whatever you're saying is real. And if they believe you, and hopefully they will, and they'll make a smart decision and purchase whatever, you know, you think they should purchase, then, you know, you did your part. You know, you didn't just try to sell.
The biggest thing is, you know, with lithium stuff, like it's so dangerous. Like, you know, it's not like, okay, you threw subs in, well, you overpowered them, you blew them up. Well, it sucks, but guess what? You just replace them and move on. It doesn't work that way with lithium. Like if you, like your simple mistakes, or, you know, your lack of knowledge, you know, could put your life and, you know, your passenger's life or anybody else around you, you know, in danger.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, like, I don't want to be that, you know, I don't want to be responsible for, you know, by not giving you the right information to say, okay, well, I told this guy to buy a battery yesterday, or, you know, I sold him this because I made the most money off of it. Although I know it wasn't right, he threw it in and, you know, he burned his Slingshot down, you know, 2 days later because, you know, it's not what he needed. Like, I'm not going to sleep well at night knowing that was my fault.
Exactly.
It might work for some people. I just, you know, I don't want to see it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, I mean, things are getting, you know, with the footprint of everything getting smaller and smaller, and you can stuff, you know, in more places. Just because it fits doesn't mean it's, you know, you're going to get enough batteries in there to support it. Like I see people, you know, stuffing, you know, multiple 8Ks up under their seats. Well, yeah, they fit, but how are you going to power them? You don't have 7 batteries in there. And there's really no room without getting, you know, crazy custom to fit, you know, multiple batteries. I mean, Jack's new battery rack is perfect. Like you can get 3 big lithiums in the front, but you know, like it fits the need, but it's like I said, being in the front, you know, or some of the places we put them on these Slingshots just scares me because of heat.
Yeah.
You know, you put 3 in the front, it's blocking the radiator, so it's far enough from the engine, but you know, what kind of cooling is it going to, you know, what kind of damage the long-term damage can it do to the motor? You know, I'm 100% against, you know, putting them in the air intake. Anything under the hood is a no-go for me. Like I have 2 small batteries, you know, up under the fender in the front, but they're as far forward as possible. And I have plenty of airspace around it, but they still bother me because they're so far. Like if I smell anything that smells like electrical burning, anytime I'm driving the road, it could be the car next to me. Guess what? I'm stopping and checking.
Freaking out. Yep.
You know, I spaz out because I've seen the, you know, the way, you know, what happens when they catch fire. And the fact of the matter is, like, most of the fire extinguishers people have on hand, they're not technically the correct fire extinguisher for lithium. And most people's not going to pay that, because I check after I had, you know, one blow up in the, you know, in the garage on a Charger. I looked, and I mean, I think the fire extinguisher was like $1,400.
Yeah.
And it was like 40 pounds. I mean, literally, it's, you know, it's a 40-pound container of essentially a fireproof foam. That the only way that it's beneficial is when you spray it. It's like almost like marshmallow mush. It encapsulates the whole battery, and the heat from the battery activates the chemicals, and it just, you know, turns it into a block. It extinguishes it, but if it's not fully encapsulated, it's not doing its full job. Now, a regular fire extinguisher will work, mainly just because, you know, the gases get up, you know, 500, 600, 700 degrees, and you're spraying it with something that's, you know, I don't know, let's say 70 degrees. It's going to bring the temperature down. Like, you know, for instance, I had a nice, you know, clear agent fire extinguisher. It was outside, it was still cold outside. I pulled it out of the truck. I think it was like 30 degrees, 20 something degrees outside. And when I sprayed it, I mean, the battery was at 500 degrees and I sprayed it with 30-degree, chemical. So it dropped the temperature down. So by the time it dropped the temperature down, I had disconnected, the charging, the charger. So it kind of neutralized the risk. But, I still just got it out and tossed it in the yard, and it sat in the yard for, it smoked and steamed in the yard for probably 5 or 6 hours later.
Nice. Yeah.
So, if it would have,
that's the kind of stuff you don't think about, but it
probably 2 or 3 weeks before I even cleaned it up.
Yeah.
So,
it's better safe than sorry.
I just wanted to be safe. And like the other one that didn't catch fire, like I left it, by the garage door on one of those wheel dollies. So I was like, if it spontaneously, goes up in flames later, I'll kick that thing right out. I'll open the garage door, kick it right out the door, and hose it down. So
I've seen spark like that. I've seen the cells just. We had some that were bad on a customer Slingshot. We took them out, completely disconnected. Each cell, just like 12 of them on the counter, not even touching anything, not sitting anywhere. And one of them just pop. You heard this pop and look over and you see the spark flying across the room. You're like, no one's around that. Like, what just happened? And so we put them all in a box and put them outside. Like, y'all stay out there for a couple of days. Like,
the biggest problem that I see is these guys, they run them low. And then but they're low enough that they still have enough juice to turn the Slingshot on, or car, or bike, whatever. And they fire it up. And it's just like the alternator just dumps all the current straight into the battery, and they get hot and it ruptures the cell. And then that causes it. And I've seen, motorcycles guys do the same thing. Like they go to these shows, they're beating on them all day. They load that stuff up in the trailer, they go home. Well, when you get home, you're not thinking about unloading the bike. It might sit in the trailer for 3 or 4 days. They get it out, they bring it inside in the garage, they do their maintenance, they plug a charger up, a big charger, 20 amp charger, 25 amp charger, plug it up, walk off. Well, battery's dead. The battery's at 10 volts, 11 volts. Super low. You throw 25 amps on it and it starts, the battery doesn't know what it's doing. It's just taking all 25 amps, full charge. And cells get hot, it ruptures, and you're not paying attention. They're off doing in the house, making a sandwich, doing whatever. And you come out and the garage is full of smoke because it's just keeping that charge. That cell's done ruptured. It's still taking the charge. And it's just bleeding out into the other cells, and then you got another 2 cells rupture, and it just that's what causes it. People using 2 big chargers that are too large for the application, or they're using the wrong charger. I've seen guys use like the stand-up Sear style, 1980 big box chargers on lithium. No go, overcharging them, 15 volts, no good, especially being dead. So like I keep like the little limitless 3.5 amp chargers, and I have big chargers, and it's all what I use is all dependent on what the voltage is when I start charging it. If it's 12, high 12s, 13 volts, and I'm just topping them off for a show ready to go, I hit them with the big charger. But if they've been sitting if they sit for long periods of time, I throw and I'm not in a hurry, throw the 3.5 amp charger on there and just let them slowly charge. And
that's the way.
There's chargers for every application. I probably, like in my trailer, I keep 5 or 6 chargers, different chargers. In the shop, I have 5 or 6 chargers. So it's like, I have the big AGM chargers, I have lithium chargers, I have smart chargers. It's
that's what you gotta have.
That's the kind of money on these batteries, it's not uncommon to have $5,000 or $6,000 in batteries on a Slingshot.
And that's it. It's the education and the knowledge, and just being able to, especially for our group and our members, is to to steer them in the right direction to get the right answers, because people don't know and they don't think about that stuff. So That's what, man. We appreciate you. We appreciate, what you do for us and for the community, and keeping everybody informed. Definitely
I
one
try
of
to
the
do the best I can.
foremost experts on lithiums. So that's important, because everybody can. I know everybody has their specialty, and that's what's good. So that's what keeps, I think, the thing as a whole, as a community, together, because everybody can share what they really know about, and that's cool. But so what's your?
And I'm not even going to say I'm an expert on lithium. I've just played with enough, for with my vehicles to say, hey, I know a lot of do's and don'ts of of things not to do, and things that I've seen, go wrong. Just
and that's
I
what
don't
you
want
got to learn.
to see that stuff happen.
Yeah, you can't learn that stuff in a book. You have to experience it. That knowledge from experience is the rule of the world. Like you know it because you've done it. And you know what works and what don't work because you've done it. And that's how to be. That's the best way to be.
Well, the other thing is like all the products that we sell, I like to have hands on. Like I'm not gonna you ask me a question, I'm not gonna recommend something based off how much money I make off of it. I want to say, hey, this is what I think is the best for your application. Like let's say I make 5% on one, product one, and I make 50% on product two. Most people will recommend the one they make 50% on. I would rather see me make less and you get the product that fits what more what you need. So you're happy at the end of the day, because I can say something that you don't need and I can make a ton of money off of it. But at the end of the day, you're going to be pissed off. You're not going to be happy. You're not going to get what you wanted. And then you're not going to come back, or it's the long game.
Yep, definitely. So
I haven't met not one person yet in the Slingshot community that's that's built the Slingshot one time and been endlessly happy with it.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen.
No, not at all, man. It is never ending. So, well, man, we appreciate you coming on. Absolutely. So you said you're just droppinhertzcaraudio.com is your website, right?
That's correct.
Ted listed it a couple times on the chat during our live here, and then it's so you guys are like, I guess, Droppin Hertz on Facebook and okay.
I think it's the same on Instagram. And all the other ones, I don't pay attention to it. Like Cody runs all that. Like I'll get on the Facebook page. I'll monitor the Facebook page every now and then. I'll look at mine. But I'll look in the emails. But outside of that, the other social media is like, we have them, but I couldn't tell you. I've never seen them. I know they're there, but like I'll see the links every now and then, but I've never checked in. Like I'll never check in on them. I just
nice.
I have too many other things going on my phone to try to keep up with that too. I'm barely lucky to keep up with myself sometimes.
Man, that's awesome.
Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate you popping on and chopping it up with us for time we've had here. So thank you.
All right, you guys have a good one. All right.
All right, Jeff. Take it easy, man. Thank you.
What's going on? Cool. Okay. Hey, I wanted to
cut me off earlier. That was perfect. Started talking about your Slingshot, and all of a sudden my screen goes black. I'm like, what happened? My internet gets shut off already?
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what happened there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I wasn't sure.
Hey, a couple things I want to touch on for next week. So next week we're going to have Kimberly on. So Kimberly Hill with from Mavericks.
Okay,
they're helping put on a show called Bikes and Babes. That's going to be, let me get to the flyer. That is the 7th through the 9th, June 7th, 8th, and 9th. And that is in, it's a humongous show, and it's in Atlanta. It's in, actually not in Atlanta. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out. Conyers, Georgia. Conyers.
Okay.
That's where we have a couple of grudges set up, but one I'm so interested in is Zeus against a mad scientist. So Zeus against Brad's bringing a Slingshot out there, and they're gonna grudge it up. So
nice.
That should be fun.
That'd be cool.
Yep. So next week, Kimberly Hill on at 8:00 next Monday, and then I'll give you some more people that we have on. So Kimberly next Monday, the first One is Kimberly, and then the second on June the 10th, we're going to have Jarrell Armor Customs on there. And then the week after that is going to be Pete at AMP.
Okay.
Talk about his company that he has with his speakers, also his motorcycle shop that he has again.
Yep.
And so that should be fun. So Kimberly, Jarrell, and then Pete.
When is don't we have that one guy that Flex Style Design coming up, that Johnathan Taylor guy?
I don't know who that is.
I thought we put him on the schedule, and we're gonna have like Rob. You know, he can stand in, and I'll be the guest. So we can.
I think that was Plan B.
Oh,
in case someone didn't show up, we're gonna drop him in.
Yeah, if somebody canceled, like, all right, I guess we'll talk about your shit.
You know, that's just someone who we have on there that just happened to be there. So
we just can't have anybody on, John. You know. No, that's a good lineup, man. I'm excited. I'd like to talk to Jarrell, and I know Kimberly. She's given to the Slingshot Audio Garage a couple times for some of the giveaways. So yeah, we appreciate every. You know, I definitely want to talk to anybody who's giving away to the group, because that's what we're all about. Is, you know, the group, man, the community. So that's really nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also want to say, you know, it's kind of not part of our thing, but you know, that the guys did a good job yesterday with the Slingshot audio spot, you know, podcast. That was pretty cool. With TJ and Rob, you know, with their podcast. I was watching it and I was like, I'm gonna retire, man. These guys are about to take my shot. Like, hey, I was gonna text Rob, be like, bro, you're up tomorrow, man. I could sit at home and do nothing now. Watch y'all. Like, they did a good job, you know, and of course the production. I know you're in the background putting all that together with the whole chart and everything. I'm like, how come we don't have a chart? I mean, we don't need a chart, but you know. And then their screensaver was all badass. I'm like, man, my show sucks, man. Ted, you kicked ass on theirs, and we're over here, you know, with our boring logo and stuff. But no,
I see you didn't pay attention though. What's the name of it?
What, the Slingshot? What did I say? The Slingshot audio spot? Did I mess it up?
The Slingshot sound spot.
Slingshot sound spot. I know I bought the .com, but I forgot the name. but
no, they did a hell of a job yesterday, man. It was fun all the way through it. The guessing on it was laid out perfect, and it was very entertaining. And hey, they're going to be doing that. They're going to be wrapping up the shows when they happen. They won't be on this coming up Sunday, but next time they're on, we'll promote it. And it was a hell of a show. They both got good personalities, and the guest they had on was great. So
yeah, no, it was super cool. It's super cool. I like the way the format is, and you know, they pop them in when it's ready to talk to them, and it's just them guys talking back and forth. It's cool. It's like a real podcast. I mean, I know ours is real too. We can't like pop our guests in and out, but it was cool watching their show. I like the way that was done. They definitely look like they've been doing it a while, because you could look at our first and second podcast and was like, we're still stumbling over words and shit, and they were just like going. I'm like, man, like somebody has a script or something. Like, they were just getting it. So it was badass. Yeah,
our first one I think we did right from Facebook, and then we streamed on all three of them. We didn't even have a background or anything. It was just basically both of ours on our, you know, wherever we were at the time. So
yeah, we're just chatting it up. So, but no, that's cool, man. It's a good show. I appreciate, you know, everybody with Slingshot Audio Garage. We got you know, I know my next big show coming up is going to be Memphis, and then we're going to start promoting their charity that they do. And you know, if we got any kind of shops that want to step up, you know, vendors want to step up and, you know, donate something that we can auction off for charity, you know, we appreciate that. So whatever somebody wants to come up with, so that'd be great. So, and I know, I think Paula's going to be there, so we're probably going to do the JT versus Bionic pose off, you know, which that's going to draw the crowd for sure, but probably not. But you know, it won't draw it for me. You know, like they tolerate me. I think they'd rather see Paula, but it's good fun. It's for charity. That's what it's all about.
Don't forget to log on to YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube page, Instagram, and here on Facebook. Like it, subscribe it, please.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Man, we appreciate everybody.
All right. We'll see y'all next week.
All right. See y'all.